Hello guys, I hope you are not as good as I am. In this video I'm going to show you how to implement a player controller or character controller so we can walk in virtual reality, go in circles, turn around and things like that. Plus we are going to learn how to implement gravity in the grabbable objects so we can have a more realistic experience.
Welcome creators, dreamers and friends to a journey where the limits end. This is View Ready Pro, where visions ignite. I'm David, your guide through the virtual night.
I am in Unity. Now let's go to scenes. This is the scene that we prepared the last video. Interaction scene. I'm gonna do a copy of this one. I'm gonna do Ctrl D. Change the name, movement, and interactions. Double click, and we have a copy of our scene. If something goes wrong, you can go back to the interaction scene and everything will be fine. Okay, so movement and interactions. We need a couple things here. The first one is an empty object. So in the hierarchy, right click, create empty, and I'm gonna name player controller this one. Be sure that the position is set to 0, 0, 0. So click in these dots and reset. And now it's 0, 0, 0. Inside of the player controllers, I'm gonna add two components. The first one is gonna be character controller, and the second one is OVR player controller. Just for you to know, these components are part of a prefab that comes in packages, prefabs, and OVR player controller. So we have character controller and OVR controller. If you ever wanna know where this comes from, go back to assets. So we have our player controller, and as you can see, we have this green capsule that is representing our player and our controller. Okay, so we have our player controller here. The next step is grab your camera rig and drag it inside the player controller. So now camera rig is child of player controller. And I'm gonna delete the main camera because we don't need that. So I'm gonna hit Supreme. Now let's see what happens if we press play. As you can see, our player is just falling down. The y-axis is minus infinite. And I'm gonna try to find it, but actually I cannot because it's just falling down all the way. So I'm gonna stop this. So how do I stop my player? Well, the solution is basically adding a floor. To add a floor, let's go to hierarchy, right click, 3D object, plane. I'm going to change the position, reset the position to 0, 0, and 0. And as you can see, we have this, let's say that is our floor. I'm gonna change the name to floor. And I wanna change the color of this. I'm gonna do that real quick. So in our folder materials, right click, create material, name it floor, and change the color to something. I want something like this, like a little like grass. So let's go back to floor, and I'm gonna drag add component. And as you can see, we have our green floor right now. Select player controller and As you can see, our player is in the middle of the floor, and we don't want that. So with the player controller selected, I'm gonna hit W, and you will see these arrows, and I'm gonna drag my player right there. Perfect. And now let's test our game. Let's see if we can walk. I am in virtual reality. Okay, I have my controllers, and it's time to test the character controller, sorry. I can move around, forward, backwards, awesome. Turn around, left and right. This is working very well. Good, good. Now let's see if I can interact. Yes, I can interact with the cubes, move them, turn around, and I'm gonna move this purple one right here. And yes, this is working perfectly. Awesome. I am back in Unity, and I would like to add a little more things, like adding gravity to our cubes. For that, I'm gonna make a copy of all the cubes that we have here. Select the first one, hold Shift, select the last one, and hold Ctrl V. And I'm gonna rename this, and I'm gonna change the name just to identify H1. Okay, this is the purple one. Perfect. And I have to change the position for each one of the gravity cubes and a couple more components inside of each one. And I don't want to do it one by one, so I have to select them. So what I'm gonna do is select the first one, hold Ctrl Alt, next one, the next one, and the next one, and this one. Perfect. And as you can see, I have selected only the gravity cubes. And as I said before, if you press the W key, you'll see this arrow here. I'm gonna change the view, and I'm gonna move these cubes right there, so we can interact with them when we are finished. And to change, to use the hand tool, press Q, and you can drag the view to here like this. Now that I have moved the cubes to a different position and I have selected all of them, I'm gonna change a couple things inside the inspector, specifically in the box collider and the rigid body. The first thing that we have to change is trigger. So disable this, otherwise they are gonna go through the floor, and we are not gonna be able to see them. Scroll down, enable use gravity, and disable kinematic. And finally, let's change the collision detection from discrete to continuous. Control S to save what we have changed. Okay, so now we are ready to test out. So I'm gonna make this a little bigger so you can actually see it. Now hit play, and let's test it out. We are in virtual reality one more time. I have my controllers, and as you can see, we have our cubes that are being affected by the gravity.
Subscribe, join, be part of the ride, a community where dreams collide. Like, share, let the passion flow. You're welcome here at Firunetti Pro.
You see that they are on the ground, and I can move, whoa, and throw. I can do distance grab and throw it to, awesome, purple one. Whoa! that was cool. Now I'm gonna grab this purple cube, and I'm gonna touch the, let's say, the body of the player, and as you can see, it's pushing me backwards. Again, there you go. Again, and I mean, this is a problem. Whoa! Okay, so now I'm falling down. And this is a problem. We don't want this to happen. I'm gonna show you how to fix this issue. So what's going on here? Basically, is a layer interaction problem. When the player controller touches the box collider of the cube, a force is applied. That's what's going on. How do we fix that? We have to apply some layers so they don't interact with each other. Select the player controller, and in Inspector we have this layer area. We have default, transparent, FX, ignore raycast, water, UI, and we can add layers. So I'm gonna add 3 layers in this case. The first one is gonna be player, the second one is gonna be grabbable, and the third one is gonna be scenario. Now that I have created these layers, I'm gonna click here or here, wherever you like, and go back to player controller, layer again, and as you can see, we have the player layer. Select it. Unity is gonna ask you, do you want to set layer to player for all child objects as well? And for all childs, it means everything in the camera rig. For our purposes, we don't need to do that, so say no, this object only. If we add the children, we won't be able to interact with the cubes because inside the camera rig is the interaction building block, and that's what allows us to actually grab the objects. Now let's go to floor, select scenario for this one, and now we can select the cube. So I'm gonna do Control Alt and select all the gravity cubes. Layer, grabbable. In this case, yes, change children. And we need one last thing. Let's go to File, Build Settings, Player Settings, Physics, scroll all the way down, and you'll see these component boxes. Let's find Grabbable and Player and disable that specific box. So basically what is going on, so we created different layers and we don't want the grabbable layer to interact with the player layer that is in the player controller. So there's no force applied to the player and we will basically be pushed out or add some forces that we don't want. Close this, close one more time, Control S, or you can build your app. And now let's test it out one more time. Okay, I am in virtual reality one more time. Let's go to our gravity cubes and we can do a distance grab, and as you can see, I'm trying to touch the player controller with the grabbable object and nothing is happening. It's not pushing me away. Let's do the same with the purple one, and as you can see, I'm still in the same place, so this is working perfect.
Some